Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 720. And today's date is July 19th, 2015. And the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. The interview with Jason Burak is now uploaded to the X22 Report Spotlight. You can go right over to the X22 Report Spotlight channel on YouTube and you can listen to it, or you can come to the x22report.com site. You will see the interview on the right-hand side. Now, I just want to thank all those people who've donated to the x22report.com site. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I am very grateful. Let's get into the economic collapse news. Now, we understand out in Greece the banks have been shut down for 3 weeks and they've been under capital controls. And what we're noticing is the economy in Greece, because the banks have been shut down, has been hurting. Basically, retail trade has lost about 600 million euros. According to the Athens Chamber of Commerce and Industry, some 4,500 containers with raw materials and finished products are currently blocked at customs since importers cannot carry out any banking transactions, and there is a backlog of checks and bills of exchange that cannot be paid, meaning that business transactions worth estimated about 6 billion euros have been frozen right now. So Greece is in a tough spot right now, and right now the Greek government, they have issued a decree ordering the banks to reopen on Monday. But even if these banks do reopen, the capital controls will still be in effect, and this is what we are seeing. People will still only be able to take out about 60 euros a day, and for the whole entire week, the cumulative weekly withdrawal limit is at about 420 euros, which is about $458. And you will not be able to transfer money anywhere else in Greece. They're saying that those people who are studying abroad, they can electronic transfer up to 5,000 euros per trimester. People receiving health treatment abroad will be able to access about 2,000 euros in cash. A broad range of capital controls still remain in place, however, including a block on capital transfers. The decree also enables the Bank of Greece to restrict the amount of euros or other currency carried in cash out of Greece. And, of course, with this new deal, they're going to implement new sales tax rates, and people are going to be taxed even more. Even though people are hurting, they still want more money. And we can see just from Greece, from Cyprus, these capital controls will probably be implemented for a long period of time. And that money that is stuck in the banks is going to be held in the banks. People have a very hard time getting that money out. Yes, you can go every single day and hit your maximum weekly withdrawal, but it will take you a very long time to get your money out of the system. A lot of people already took a lot of their money out of the system, and they are probably glad they did. But we see this debt situation, it cannot be sustained. And coming out of the Economic Collapse blog, we see that there are 24 nations that are facing the same exact debt crisis, where they will not be able to sustain this. And sooner or later, they're going to have a problem. I mean, look at Spain right now. Their debt to GDP has risen from 69 to 98%. Italy went from 116 to 132. France from 85 to 95%. And that's not the only countries. There's many more. Belgium is at 106% debt to GDP. Ireland, 109 debt to GDP. Portugal, 130 debt to GDP. We are looking at the same exact scenarios here. And as time goes on, and there are those people that can't find jobs, and more people are laid off, and as the countries take on more debt, the situation is not going to get better. Remember, President Hollande in France told us back in 2013, his country is in recovery right now. In 2014, he said, the country is going to see incredible recovery. What have they seen? Nothing. It has gotten worse since that time. It hasn't gotten better. Just like they told us in Greece. They told us it was going to get better in 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014. And look where we are today. Nothing's changed. Actually, they've received more debt and more austerity. That's what's changed. We see China right now. They are dumping their treasuries. China has now sold a record of 96 billion in treasuries in the last 3 months, and they use Belgium to sell them. They don't sell them outright, and this is why the corporate media is not picking up on what they're actually doing. China has already dumped a record 107 billion in U.S. treasuries in 2015, and they're doing it quietly. They don't want too much attention on this. And they're doing this to keep the yuan renminbi stable. They're dumping the treasuries at this time. And they're going to be dumping a lot more. And I have this graph on the X22Report.com site. You can see that they have been dropping and dumping their treasuries because they're looking at the situation and they realize, okay, we need to separate ourselves from the U.S. We need to get rid of these treasuries. We don't want to be holding them when the system comes down because they know the United States is not going to make good on this. And you can see they're dumping them, and actually they're purchasing gold. They have purchased a huge amount of gold, and they're continually doing this. Now, we've talked about Japan, how they want to change Article 9, which makes them a pacifist nation, and they can go out and they can join the fight with the U.S. Well, it looks like it finally happened. Even though the people of Japan said, no, we do not want this to happen, they did it anyway. And we've been talking about this for quite a while. And that whole entire stretch of time, they finally did it. We haven't seen anything like this since World War II. Defying the broad public opposition and large demonstration, Prime Minister Abe, he won a crucial vote in Parliament on Thursday, which would give Japan's military limited powers to fight in foreign conflicts. We can see at this point in time, everything is being prepared. It's getting ready for the next war. And you know, even though the people are demonstrating, protesting, the U.S. moving their base from one area to another area in Japan, they're going to do it anyhow. It makes no difference what the people want or think. We saw that in Greece. We see out in Ukraine, situation is escalating. We see that the U.S. has delivered 100 Humvees to Ukraine. They received the first batch of 10 Humvees back in March. Now an additional 100 has been delivered. We see Donetsk and Lugansk. They said, okay, under the Minsk agreement, we're going to start withdrawing our weapons away from the contact line. These are the smaller weapons, 100 millimeter caliber. And we're showing as good faith, we're following the Minsk agreement, we're removing it. The Ukraine army says they have no instructions whatsoever to remove their weapons from the contact line. And they're keeping their weapons right there. They're not moving it whatsoever. So we can see what's happening at this point. Actually, what they're reporting is that there's more and more troops, more and more weapons being brought up to the contact line, and all they're doing is moving it around. We understand in the Middle East, the United States government central bankers are trying to make the case that Assad has been using chemical weapons. And we've been talking about this quite a bit. And every time we come back to it, it is the Islamic State that is using these chemical weapons. They're the ones who are hitting the people of Syria. And now a report comes out from a UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. And yes, guess what? It is the Islamic State using these chemical weapons. And they have used it on the Kurdish people. June 28th, they've used chemical weapons. They have documented accounts of this. The observatory called on the UN Security Council to send an international probe to Syria to detect the use of gases by the Islamic State. Now, of course, the US is out there saying, no, it is Assad he's using the gas, and this is where you should be looking. This seems like we're doing the same thing we did back in August of 2013, actually before that, when they asked the UN to inspect this, and Assad said, and Putin said, you know something? We're going to bring them in here. We're going to show them who's actually using it. And they had a chemical attack during the time the inspectors were in Syria. And we're starting to see the same thing happen once again. The proxy army for the United States is using chemical weapons inside Syria. The United States is out there showing photos. They're showing information that it's Assad. And all evidence is pointing to the proxy army of the United States government central bankers. So we can see they're building up the case, the propaganda, to go back into Syria. And we're getting word that the UK, in the UK, they want more aerial bombings in Syria. They should be involved. They should be working with the United States. And we can see they most likely have the green light now to make an offensive into Syria at this point. And we're going to have to follow this very, very closely because it looks like things are really starting to build up. Now, if we look at what happened in Chattanooga, we are starting to see all different stories come out. And one of them is very interesting because they're saying that he was battling depression. And I wouldn't be surprised that if he was on some type of medication like SSRIs. Because we've seen this in the past. This is nothing new. These people are heavily medicated. The FBI gets in touch with them. They put ideas into their head. And then all of a sudden we have a shooting. Now they can't make the link to the Islamic State. So we're starting to see additional information out there saying that this is a new generation of terrorists. A new generation? I mean, the different agendas that are going on right now. We have the gun grabbers. We have those people who are trying to scare us into war, scare us that the Islamic State is coming for us. And I heard on a report from Fox News that the Islamic State statement was put out there that they're going to be attacking different states, just like you saw in Tennessee. And we knew this buildup was going to come. I mean, think about what's happening at this point. We have the authorization for war pending in Congress. Now, that allows the United States government central bankers to go after the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, or any other terrorist organization anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter what country they're in. It has no traction in Congress. And they know they need to get into Syria and remove Assad. They know they need to get back into those countries like Libya, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and remove those people who are causing a problem. Fight them back and keep the puppet government in power. And now we have Jade Helm, which is going on right now, currently. All the way to September. Some people say it has been extended into November. And now we have the Islamic State attacking all different regions of the United States to put the fear of the Islamic State into the people, to push Congress to pass the authorization for war. And we've been telling you, and we've been talking about this, that there is going to be some type of an event. If they can't get this legislation passed, they will use events to push it along. We've seen this many, many times. And we're going to have to watch this very carefully because, as we know, all the operatives are standing by. They're just waiting for the green light for the go-ahead. And this one little shooting, this cannot be the event. It's going to have to be something much, much larger, and we're going to have to watch this. Now, what's very interesting, General Wesley Clark came out, and he said something very interesting, that we should be starting internment camps for those U.S. citizens that are radicalized. So we're seeing what Nazi Germany did and what the United States did to the Japanese. This is what he said. We've got to identify the people who are most likely to be radicalized. We've got to cut this off at the beginning. There are always a certain number of young people who are alienated, They don't get a job. They lost a girlfriend. Their family doesn't feel happy. And we can watch these signs. We can watch these people. And there are members of the community who can reach out to those people and bring them back in and encourage them to look at their blessings here. But I don't think on a national policy level we need to look at what self-radicalization means, because we are at war with this group of terrorists. They do have an ideology. In World War II, if someone supported Nazi Germany at the expense of the United States, we didn't say that this was freedom of speech. We put them in a camp. They were prisoners of war. So if these people are radicalized and they don't support the United States, they are disloyal to the United States. As a matter of principle, it's our right and obligation to segregate them from normal community and put them in these camps. Now, I have a problem with this because these people haven't done anything wrong. These people, and this could be me or you, because look at what they're looking at here. They have no evidence of anything. They're just saying, yes, these people meet a certain criteria. Let's throw them in a camp. And this is how it begins. And this is something we should all be nervous about. And when he says, if you're against the United States, well, what does that really mean? Against, what, you don't agree with the United States? Well, let me ask you. Those founding fathers who fought in the Revolution didn't agree with the British government. They disagreed with the British government. Should they have been thrown in an internment camp? Well, if they were, we wouldn't have what we have today. So those people who disagree with the United States government, I guess what they're saying is they're going to be thrown into an internment camp. This is what they want to do. Now, are they going to do it tomorrow? Most likely not. But they're trying to get a feel of how people think about it. They're putting it out there to make you think like, yeah, this is a good idea. I mean, we saw it happen in Nazi Germany. We saw it happen here in the United States. They just threw people who are of Japanese descent, they threw them in camps. Well, I'm sorry. If you've done nothing wrong, the United States government central bankers have no right to throw you into a camp whatsoever. And if you disagree with the government or don't agree with the policies of the government, they still have no right to do this. But again, they want certain people shut up. And again, is this really going to make everyone safe? No. This is a tool to keep you scared, to have people tell on each other, and we're heading down a very dangerous path. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.